This is Listening with Franklin Livingston, and our guest is Noah Benson.
Something I want to talk to you about. A lot of people have shared public schools were not great for them because they learned smoking or being sexually active when they were not supposed to, or a lot of stuff that's maybe not wise. So, how was it for you? Uh, was the environment overly sexualized, or it was what was the concept of romance for you? You knew you were a boy. Were you attracted to a girl? How all that happened? I mean, for some people, it does happen in junior high or early on.
Yeah. So I remember like the first time I had like a crush, I guess, was in third grade. And I remember very vividly. It was like the first day, and this like really cute girl walks in, and I just remember like feeling my heart go like, what is that? Like, what is that feeling? But that was like elementary school, I guess. And so, growing up,
I mean,
like,
feeling is feeling.
yeah,
You feel things even if you are one or two.
yeah, but it was very back then it was kind of like hush hush, I guess, because like, excuse me, but like I remember like telling my one of my really good friends like that I had a crush on this girl, and it was like at a sleepover with like boys playing video games or whatever, and they were talking about it.
So when you say hush hush, do you mean like you don't share it with your parents or hide it from someone like teacher, or what does hush hush means?
So we didn't, back then in elementary, like we didn't talk about it that much, like having a crush, because it was like kind of embarrassing, I guess.
And
Like,
it wasn't that long. You're not talking about
yeah,
40 years ago.
yeah,
It's just
no,
recently.
yeah. So, I remember when I told my buddy like that I had a crush on this girl. Like, it was like late at night at a sleepover, and like we fell asleep or whatever, and I woke up, and the first thing that hit my mind was like dread, because I was like, oh no, like I told him I like this girl, like what have I done? Like I felt so like gross. I don't know what the emotion was. It was mostly like embarrassment, I guess, because I think I was maybe afraid of them telling somebody or something. But that just puts in perspective how like an elementary schooler thinks, because like nowadays like you go out or whatever and be like, yo, that girl's cute, man. And like you
But it
ask,
was innocent, right?
it was very innocent,
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah, like it was, I mean, like we like growing up, going past that, like in the fifth grade, like that's when we got like the whole puberty talk.
How old were you in fifth grade?
I was 10,
Mm-hmm.
and that was really cringy, going over it with a bunch of elementary schoolers. But obviously it was like kind of important because like your brain chemistry is changing, and like your body chemistry or whatever. And so after that, I guess it got like a little less awkward, but up until like high school, like we didn't really talk about like crushes or whatever. And I don't think it was because of like our parents or anything. I think it was just more due to like social scrutiny, because you were afraid of the word getting out. and everybody being like, haha, like, they have a crush on this person. What a loser.
So it was
Like,
looked down.
yeah, I think it might have just been also like insecurity, I guess. Like,
Mm.
maybe if I was like more confident or something, then I wouldn't be as like sheltered
Mm.
about talking about it.
Did you ever talk to the girl? Hello, hi, anything?
No. Like, well, actually, a few times, like, but I was always like super nervous or like, I knew nothing about like relationships
No,
or
in general,
anything.
like, hey,
Yeah.
could I borrow your pencil or whatever you guys have?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Like we would be on a team or whatever, and I'd be like trying my best to like make them laugh without being too overtly like annoying or like without giving away the fact that I had like a crush on them or whatever.
Did you ever see her again in middle school, high school, or in general?
In high school,
Like,
yeah.
Oh, right. She was in the same high school as you?
No, she went to the one that my buddies went to.
Okay.
Um, but after that, I had kind of like lost feelings because by that point I had already had like my first girlfriend or whatever, and then like
How did you meet her?
my first girlfriend.
Yes.
I met them because of my band, I guess. Like, so they also went to this other school. So one day, I think for like a talent show or something, we performed at the
Mhm.
public school, not my school.
You were at Magnet, and
I was, yeah. And then they were there, and they saw the performance, and they like, um, that was the day we met. But it turns out, like, I learned later on that they like thought I was like cute or whatever.
So she started talking to you, not to you?
Yeah, actually, the first time we ever like hung out, um, yeah, they texted me. It was like hang out, and then eventually, we feelings started happening.
So in your high school, you didn't have this. How was the environment? You guys were more like reserved, or it was very open, wild?
So by that point, yeah, sorry to cut you off. But we, yeah, it was like a little less taboo, uh, because we were getting more mature. Like the the elementary idea of like, oh God, everybody's gonna bully me was
Mhm.
kind of out of the question because like now your social circle is larger and you feel like you're more comfortable around larger groups of people and yeah, I think it was like I just remember it on me not having a problem like being outwardly affectionate and like talking about it because I was growing as a person and my confidence like before in like middle school I really thought I was like super like ugly and like gross or and that kind of like led to like more me like sheltering like I was talking about before. um
But that was something you you assumed. How did it get into your head? If you were to reflect back.
yeah, that's a great question because I think it was a product of like bullying, honestly, because I I wasn't bullied in the conventional sense of like getting beat up or like shoved into a locker, but like I was a little bit more on the shy side, and so I wasn't so outward as I was like in middle school or in elementary school. because I was in this whole new group of people, you know, like I didn't know anybody. And like the first week was pretty exciting, but then after that, like people started establishing like you know, their groups, and I realized like some of these kids were like more like rude, you know, like more like I was never someone that like bullied anybody, you know, but in middle school I think it was like it's really cutthroat like environment when you're really trying to like do anything for a laugh from your buddies, and so a lot of times like I was a product of that, like of being, you know, a little bit more quiet, a little bit more shy. And so because of the bullying, like I think it like lowered my self-esteem a lot and my confidence, and I was like, well, if I was good looking or whatever, I wouldn't be bullied, or if I was, you know, if I was more outgoing, you know, maybe I wouldn't be bullied. So I try to be more outgoing, but then I'd just like get shut down even more. So I think that's why I kind of like that kind of happened, because it was like it was a lot of external things, you know. It wasn't like an internal like chemical change in my brain. It was just like me reacting to the world around me.
Your friends, closest friends, did they ever show a sign if they say they did not articulate that you were not good looking?
No, never. Honestly.
So your
No.
perception was just based on a group of people who you use the term as confidence, who were just overly confident in more negative way,
Hmm.
and that maybe came across as good looking.
Yeah, because I was thrown into this new like norm of like my community balance, you know, and so I was like, all right, I got to keep my head above the water, but um, you know, so this is now the community I'm in, so I have to you know, be there. But again, this is all like, you know, my elementary brain, you know, like this is when before I knew that, you know, positive thinking leads to positive actions, which leads to positive behavior. You know, I didn't know anything about like positive reinforcement or that, and so I was kind of naive. I was very naive in believing, you know, these people that I don't even know, just solely because this is where I was put. You know, this is the community that I'm now a part of, and you know, even though I had my old friends like on the weekends and stuff, 80% of my week was a part of this community, and so yeah.
It's very interesting you say that. I have noticed among millennials, right? So one of the things is the source. Remember, we were talking about what's the source that makes a child quote unquote well behaved, right? Where do they learn that? Or you mentioned about passion for cooking, and right away I asked you, why did you want to be a cook? Did you see your mom being a great cook? And you said yes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the influence we get. Now, the sad reality, and I think it's a shame, to be honest, I'm using a strong language, that the print media, entertainment industry, print and visual media, especially this narratives, and because I am a part of that,
Mm-hmm.
we have been historically showing bad guys being hot, rude man being the alpha male, and a lot of people fall into that trap. They would want someone who is like that image they see on TV, or they've seen in the movies or a
Mm-hmm.
magazine. But when they get into a relationship, after a month or two, they think, oh my God, now I'm in domestic violence, or I am dealing with a psychopath, or because ego. So you talked about ego. Where do these tendencies come from? Uh, Being a psychopath or a sociopath, they all, if you trace back, it starts from that ego, right? And it then multiplies, and then the extreme version is being mentally ill clinically. But it's very sad that this information, and I don't know if it's still among the kids. I don't work with them, but you work. That who is a good looking, right? Somebody who has the status quo. And how do you get that status quo? Just bully others. You're right. Bully doesn't mean physical abuse. It could be just like not being nice, not talking to, like some people, like I'm sitting here, right? I won't talk to you. And that's being bullied. That's being rude. And a lot of us suffer in the community. And it goes back to the idea, what you mentioned. You learned early on. You use it in metaphor, putting other people's needs in front of you. And using a Christian metaphor will be letting go of yourself, self denial, right? So you put your neighbor in front of you or your needs, right? Like the Good Samaritan guy, when he picked up the wounded guy, he put the wounded guy's needs before his needs.
Yeah.
It's very sad how they get influenced people. So do you think it's still common among the kids you work with? This idea of who's good looking, just or who isn't whole, and that's the thing. You asshole, then the idea is, oh my God, you're great, and which is sad, but that's the way it is. I'm talking about older generation, but you deal with the younger ones.
Yeah, I feel like it's a great question. I feel like my kids like don't really have a concept of that, like, which is
Yet.
it's a very yet, and so it's they're at a lot of my kids, are at like the 6, 7, 8 age range, and that's kind of like before I was, that's around the time when I started, like, getting, wise about, like, okay, there are people out here who, like, will not like you, and there are people that, like, will be mean to you. And so, that makes me wonder, like, what their concept of a hero versus a villain is, or what it will be when they have the wherewithal for that. Because, as in today's day and age, I feel like with the advent of social media, there has been a lot more focus on mental positivity, and solely because the avenues to, see and hear and, receive that content are just easier. Like, I feel like that would make, like, a big impact on the kid, like, the Zoomers, I think is what they call them.
The Zoom. I knew there's Gen Alpha and then Beta, maybe? I don't know. Zoomers are there too?
I think they're called Zoomers.
Maybe, okay.
Maybe. But yeah, yeah, so that's it's interesting because, like, a lot of my kids, like, before I started my most recent job, which is it's been the job that I've been most involved with kids. I was thinking that they'd all be like super, like, brain rotty and, like, just no attention span and rude because, like, TikTok can be like that. And we're of the generation where sometimes you'll see like kids with like two like iPads or whatever. I'm happy to say that in my real world experience, I've only come across that. Like, I've rarely come across kids who like are like that. Most of them are more attentive than like even I was. Well, I even said I was not really a good attentive kid, but like, um, yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
No,
Like,
that's great because don't you teach in the most financially affluent area of New York?
yeah,
Right? So that's why I was assuming all your students might be these really multimillionaire, billionaires kids.
no,
And
seriously,
they
yeah,
might be really
Westchester.
snooty. So it's
No.
great to hear that.
Yeah, no, seriously. I mean, I was like, every day, I'm like, dude, these kids are great. Like,
Mm.
I thought that the world was gonna be doomed because of all like the
Devices.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
devices. They suck your attention
Yeah,
span and
yeah.
they like make you like a goldfish. But I mean, that's the case with some of my students, but most of them are good. Like, and so, but then again, that's just my, you know,
No, I
experience.
mean, still, your experience matters. It's great because if, it's not that you just see a kid for a minute or two. It's like you spend hours and you see them behave nicely or being attentive, which is great. That means their upbringing has been through some positive influences.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to your romantic side. This girl approached you,
Mm-hmm.
and how was that feeling? Versus when you were feeling more like, oh my God, I'm not a good looking guy, and no
Mm-hmm.
one is going to like me, and all that. But this was contrary to that.
Yeah, that was definitely like it's a very pivotal moment in my life. Like I had never had like a girlfriend before. I mean, and especially in real life. And I was kind of just like when they hit me up, they we went out like
No, but
got some
when you received
food.
the text, then what happened? You're like, oh my God, I can't sleep tonight. Or what was the feeling and how did you react to that text?
So actually it was more so like it was more uh it was more of a vague text. Like, so I was in a group chat with them, another one of their friends, and another one of my friends, and they were like, "Oh, let's like go out and get some food." I was like, "Okay, I'm not doing
Specific to you?
anything." Yeah, to me and
Hey,
my
Noah.
buddy, and then
Oh, so it wasn't like, hey, Noah,
yeah,
you.
no,
Okay, it was like, let's all of us go out, sort of,
yeah,
right?
mm-hmm,
Okay.
and
That's wiser. I mean, better, right? So you don't lose
yeah,
confidence and right away it's not awkward.
yep, and so then after that we go get some food, and then go back to my buddy's house,
Oh, you
and
all?
yeah, all
Okay,
four of
okay,
us,
okay.
and then before I knew it, like they were kind of just like we were all laying on the couch or whatever, and then they kind of like just like inched closer to me or whatever, and then they were like, "Yo, like, uh, we should like kiss or something." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I
So,
guess so.
okay, so the consent was initiated, which is also a wise thing. Because you
Yeah.
never know where the next person is, and you start doing something, and then next person could be offended, right?
Yep. Yeah. And so they were like, and I was like, okay. And then so that was the moment I realized like, wow, okay.
That's my first girlfriend.
Yeah, I had like kissed a girl before,
Okay.
but this was like my first legit like girlfriend.
Mm.
Only after like a couple weeks, we were like dating, and then we were like official. And
So how did that change your thinking about you or your world view, if you will?
so yeah, I'd say it showed me that I um it was a very crazy thing to me that I could convince myself that I'm unlovable, that I'm like not good looking, that I'm not funny, that I'm not a good person, and that the tangibility of like it was almost like a slap in the face to me to realize that my brain was inhibiting myself so much in that way, and that I was convinced, I was fully convinced in my head that like how could this person like me? Like how could this person want to be with me?
So when you say convinced, more like having some suspicion, like, or this question, what is the real motive? Why does she want me?
Yeah,
You know?
and this is all like because of my internal like lack of self-esteem, I think. But yeah, essentially it was like my brain was kind of tricking itself into thinking that I wasn't good enough for anybody,
Hmm.
and they helped me realize that um that's not true, and that they helped me a lot in realizing that I am capable of loving, and that I am capable of being good. And I realized I was just so alone at that point, that to have company and to have someone I can trust, um it was very um it was very deep, and I'm very grateful for that experience.
So how did your girlfriend convey those things to you? Was it a conversation based, or it
Mm-hmm.
was just like a non-verbal? You picked on things.
Mm-hmm. So we spent a lot of quality time together. Um, we we talked a lot about our lives, and leading up to our backgrounds, and how quality time is like very important for me. Like I like, especially like in a love language sort of way, and like words of affirmation as well. And so they helped me, like, it wasn't so much like one conversation that happened that made me realize it. It was kind of like over time.
Process, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just building a trust and letting go of the fears and insecurities and the lies that some of us keep on believing in takes a while. And I think that's another thing. See, you use the term ego. I think in a relationship, you have to let go of your ego or your learning. So you have to unlearn to make a room for the new learning, even if it's about yourself,
Mm-hmm.
which is hard.
Yeah.
Which a lot of us, because see, when you believe in something, you don't really think it is negative, or even if you know it is not that great, still it's very difficult because you are familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
So familiarity is so comfortable. Letting go is not easy. So I want to commend you that you took that step, because that's being brave. That's being confident.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like being bullied is not really confidence. That's the negative portrayal of yourself. And a lot of people who are bullies, they have their own issues.
Mm-hmm.
But what you did, that's real confidence. That's real bravery. That's real wisdom, the term you've used several times. That
Mhm.
you unlearned or began to unlearn, letting go of whatever you gained, and
Mm-hmm.
then made room for this positivity and affirmation and healing, if you will, to enter through your girlfriend.
Yeah.
She became a channel of grace to your life.
Yeah, and it's like it's a garden, you gotta water it, and it's like, that was a very pivotal first step in my journey of like trying to be better and one with myself so I could be one with, the world. And every day, I'm not trying to preach that I'm like that I know all the answers, because I work on it every day. But that was definitely a really big first step, in which I'm very thankful for them for.
Mm-hmm. So, this transformation or the process of getting transformed made your relationships with your friends from the childhood friends and your parents better?
Yeah, it did. Um, that time of that period of my life, I did experience a boost in my self-esteem, and subsequently a boost in my motivation, and I felt just healthier, and because I was able to realize that my brain was like kind of holding me back a little bit, and that was a scary thought to me, and it still is.
Mm-hmm,
um, because the brain can play some devious tricks on you, uh, and if you want to be better, you have to be aware of that, and its power, and so it's like I'm respectful of that, but because of that, I allow myself, that grace to to be able to apply myself better in my day-to-day life, and my relationships, both with my parents, my friends, my coworkers, new friends to meet, but yeah, it's powerful.
So, how long have you guys been together now?
Oh, we were only dating for like 4 months.
Then what happened?
Oh, we broke up because I was going to college, and
But you still have the positive influence of that phase.
yeah,
So that person came into your life just to become an agent of grace and healing, but then they had to go and you had to move on.
yeah, it was a painful time, but it was for a while it was bad, but um we've since like talked, we've hung out like a few times, and we still talk every now and then, but she was my first,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think she brought a lot of good things into your life.
Oh, 100%.
And, you might have heard in the Christian world, they say God sometimes send a person in your life
Mm-hmm.
to rock your boat or do the work, and then they leave. And when the healing process begins, it is painful
Mm-hmm.
because then you're dealing with your past, and then you were focused on this blissful phase you have had, and now that blissful phase is gone. But I
Yeah.
think it goes back to what the phrase you used, codependency,
Mm-hmm.
that it might be painful. I don't know. I can't relate to that. But the more you get mature in your life, you'll understand that it has made you more dependent on yourself. Then, because when you're vulnerable, you have first girlfriend, you're still not that mature, and she's the one who becomes a channel of hope and healing and assurance. So she's the everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if we develop that codependency, then I call it more like there's a fear of developing idolatry, because we look up to that person for everything,
Yeah.
which can be very dangerous.
It is. Yeah, not healthy.
Yeah. And then when you move on, it's painful, but when that patch is healed, that's where real healing comes. The stitching process, whenever you have a cut, and God forbid if you have to get a stitching done, it's gonna hurt. It's not good until that heals to the point that there is a new skin and the stitching dissolves.
Yeah.
Great. So where did you go to college then?
So I went to the Rochester Institute of Technology in Rochester, New York. Yeah.
What did you study there? Technology.
I studied marketing. Actually.
Oh yeah, you wanted to
Yeah.
study marketing, yes.
Yep. Yeah.
Which kind of marketing were you focused on? Like digital marketing or sales, door to door, more consumer based?
Yes, so marketing is a very big term. But I was mostly interested in the psychology of marketing and what made people want to buy things and what made people, you know, convinced that they need something in their life. That is the aspect that that really interested me. So I took, I was deep into like psychology classes as well, critical thinking and, but that was, but I was kind of like I took a lot of classes like around,
But your particular interest was in this need based consumer products?
Yeah. Yes, that's and it kind of all revolved around like my high school merchandising thing, and I was like, why? This like it kind of blew up, but all beyond that, it was like, the human mind is obviously an enigma, but um like there's a lot of great examples over time of advertising specifically about how to get people to want something, and so it was really more the psychological aspect of it for me. But I did like search engine optimization and like HubSpot certification and stuff, and but yeah, I was involved in the music scene up there. I was the president of the Student Music Association.
So here you graduated from being vice president to the presidentship?
Yes, over the course of 3 years,
wow,
I became the president of the club. But
what about your buddies? They were here when you went to Rochester, or?
So one of them actually went to the University of Rochester.
Okay.
So we were pretty tight, and he was studying audio music engineering. And so we'd spend our weekends like going over to his studio and recording and mixing our songs and excuse me, just having a good time,
yeah, I want you to be relaxed. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a great time of my life, and it was a great, I liked being independent, but I actually did not graduate from there. I dropped out
After how many years?
after about 4 years, actually.
Oh, so how many credits left?
So I have a few semesters left. I honestly don't really know. I have to look at my transcript, but
Mhm.
I was I started struggling like about 2 years into my college education. I was feeling more and more isolated.
Hmm.
I was feeling like, I don't know. I was just very I was getting to the point to where I was losing my sense of purpose again. Like the marketing thing was um it was fun, but I started getting lazy and losing motivation
Mhm.
and not going to class as much. And so it was a bit of a rough period, but I was able to get through it a little bit. Um, but